Okay, hello folks, it's me again, Mr. Weston, here with some more equations. You'll notice a bit of a change this time. I haven't got the same sheet. And then the reason for that is that I don't have an ink cartridge in my printer, and I can't get one. Well, I ordered one a couple of weeks ago anyway. It's not arrived, so I'm having to hand write the sheet out. So a little bit different, but the same questions that you'll get in your folder for your work anyway. So what we're going to look at today is equations. Solving equations. And the idea is we're going to find out what x is, or whatever the letter. I think they're all x's on this sheet. But we're going to find out what x is in each question. Now you'll notice I've written there, isolate the term, isolate the variable. Well, that's an idea just to help you, because what you'll see is the term and the variable are different things. In terms of this, okay, if you look at it, the x is the variable. That's the bit that we're trying to find out, the x, the unknown, okay? Whereas the term itself is the bit that contains x. So in this case, 8x. There's a 3x over here and x divided by 7 there. So it will appear different, okay? Later on there's a root x and so on. So that's the term. So the idea is we're basically trying to undress and move everything else away from that term, and then move everything away from that term, so we're just left with the variable. I'll talk you through it. These are what we call two-step equations. So there's going to be 2 steps to each one before we find the answer. Now, in this first one then, we're going to have a look. So 8x add 5 is equal to 23. Okay, so fair enough, seems straight enough. What I would say is for you in this case, I'm going to use my finger, i.e. to help with what I call cover up. And the idea with this is if I just cover up the 8x, you'll see there, I'm seeing, trying to get a shadow, but something, I'm just going to use the word something, add 5 is 23. So what number add 5 is 23? Well, you should all know that. It's 18. 18 add 5 is 23. So what that means is that underneath my finger is an 18, okay? Or it's got the value of 18. Now, I'm going to write that down, 8x is equal to 18 next time round. But what we'll often say is do the opposite to what's already been done. And you will have seen in the last lesson that's what I was doing. So in this case here, we can see there's an add 5 there. I'm just going to write underneath here minus 5. Now, if I'm doing that to the left-hand side, I've also got to do it to the right-hand side as well. We saw that before, and that's the opposite of what's already happened. Really important to do that. And of course, if I do that, add 5, take away 5 cancels. I'm just left with 8x. And over here, 23 take away 5 is 18. So it's the same answer that I had before when I just did that cover-up almost, saying what number add 5 is 23. There's just 2 different ways really of thinking about the same problem in order to get your answer. Now, the other thing that I've done here, because very often when you teach this, I'll have people shouting out answers to me because they'll be able to do it in their heads. And fair enough, most of the time you'll get these, the answers will be quite nice. But you'll notice 8x equals 18 isn't particularly nice. 18 is not in the 8 times table. Now that's on purpose, that is deliberate, because if it said 8x equals 16, you'll be just shouting out, oh yeah, 2, move on. I don't want people to do that. I want you to think a little bit about this. Now we've got 8x is equal to 18. 8x means 8 times x, or x times 8. So the actual action that is happening to that variable is multiply by 8 at the moment. What I want you to think a bit about is what is the opposite to times by 8? Because that's what we need to do to both sides. So the opposite of timesing by 8 is divide by 8. And of course, 16, if it had been that, divided by 8 would have been 2, nice and easy, but it's not. It's 18 divided by 8. And I just want you to think about what you would write for this. So 8x divided by 8 just gives me x. And of course, we're nearly at the answer now. X equals, notice I'm keeping all my equals in a nice straight column going down there. 18 divided by 8, and of course that's the problem. If you can't, or at least it's not in the times table, you can't divide it readily, don't be scared to just write it as a fraction. I've said that so many times to you. So in this case here, 18 divided by 8, just write 18 over 8. That's okay. And then if you want to, okay, do a bit of simplification. So they're both even. Just literally cancel. So 18 and 8 both divide by 2, so I can simplify it. And so I can turn that into 9 over 4. And that is okay as the answer. Stop panicking thinking you need to get decimals. You don't. 9 over 4, I'm happy with. I really am. It's the right answer. Don't worry about this overthinking. Okay, so the next one, very similar, but just different order actually. So instead of saying 8x add 5, we've now got 17 add 3x. It could be 3x add 17. Of course, you could rewrite it as that, but we're not going to. But it makes no difference if the order's slightly differently. So what we'll see here is we've got to undo it. We've got to basically isolate that term. So the key thing here is 17 add is the same as add 17. So the idea here is something gets added to 17 to make 22. I think you all know what it is. 17 add 5 is 22. So this has got a value of 5. What we've got to do is get rid of the add 17. And I know it's a 17 add, but it means the same thing. You know that. 2 add 9 is the same as 9 add 2. So what we're going to do is take away 17 from both sides. I'm just going to write that underneath each side. We must always do the same to both sides. I'll circle them so I don't get anything confused in it. I'm not even going to write 22 take away 17. I never mix up arithmetic when I'm doing this. Just write what I'm going to do. Do the maths in your head. If you can't do it in your head, use a calculator. That's cool by me. So we're going to be left with 3x on the left-hand side because we've got rid of the 17. We took it away. Of course, 22 take away 17 is 5. And just the same as previously, I'm trying to get you to not guess the answers. If it had been 3x equals 6, you'll be shouting, yeah, 3 2s are 6, but it's not. So what are we going to write? Well, what are we going to do to get rid of the 3? That means 3 times x. Opposite times 3 is divide by 3. I'm not going to skimp on this at the moment. I'm going to write it down. Both sides. Sorry, this looks like being a long video, doesn't it? 3x divided by 3 gives me x. And 5 divided by 3, I don't know what it is. Don't go decimal, just leave it as a fraction. That's the right answer. 5 over 3. And you're done. Okay. Might start speeding up a little bit now. So this one, 12 equals 5x take away 3. So again, we can use the cover up if we want and say, what number take away 3 gives you 12? You'd be shocked how many people say 9. Oh yeah, 9, because 12 take away 3 is 9. Yeah, but 9 take away 3 isn't 12. This is going to be a 15, isn't it? 15 take away 3 is 12. But the best way to do it is just to think opposite. What's opposite of take away 3? Add 3. Circle that on both sides. And now what we can do is, okay, 12 add 3 is 15, you're right. 5x hasn't changed, but the minus 3 add 3 is cancelled. This time it's different to the previous question because the x is on the right hand side, but you know, big deal. It makes no difference. It's like symmetry really, or x on left or right. It's the same sort of maths. Finally, we've got some nice numbers here. I feel you're ready for this. 15 equals 5x. So 5 times what gives you 15? I know you all know that, but I'm going to write the divide by 5 while you're thinking about it. You're all shouting out the answer, hopefully at home. X is equal to 3. But I'm not going to write x equals 3. I'm actually going to write 3 equals x. Now, that's basically means keeping the x on the right-hand side. And that's okay. 3 equals x is exactly the same as x equals 3. It doesn't need to be rewritten. I can move on. I've got the right answer, full marks, okay? Nothing wrong with leaving the x on the right-hand side. Okay, number 4 of 8. We're nearly halfway. Oh my god, this is going to take ages uploading, but fingers crossed it'll work. This one, x divided by 7. Yuck. But don't worry about that at the moment. We'll cover it up, but something, we're going to work something. Something add 19 is 36. Bit trickier, but what add 19 gives you 36? Just let you think about that 1 second. What we're going to do is write down the opposite of add 19, which is take away 19. I'm just going to do that to both sides. Again, I'm isolating this term. I'm getting the bit with the x's left on its own. So x divided by 7. We can now do 36 take away 19. For those of you that shouted out 17, you're right. It is 17, okay? And so 17 is 36 take away 19. Now we've got x divided by 7 is 17. Tricky now, but what I'm saying is what number divides by 7 to make 17? Basically, it's got to be bigger than 17. That's the key. So the opposite of divide by 7 is times 7. Okay, we know that. You've heard me say that many times. So times 7 there, both sides. And so in this case, we're going to end up with x equals, of course, the times 7 cancels the divide by 7, and we've got 17 times 7. This would be a case, if you wanted to, just type it into a calculator if you don't know it. Please don't write down, oh, 17 times 7 equals. I don't need to know that, okay? Or at least if you're going to do arithmetic, do it on another scrap piece of paper or in a margin. 17 times 7, 10 sevens are 70, 7 sevens are 49. If you couple them together, you get 119. So there we go, 119 is the answer. Okay? Moving on. All right, the next one is x squared. Oh, typical, we're going to put an x squared in there. X squared adds 7 is 56. It's actually quite an easy one, this. So, something adds 7 is 56. What's the opposite to add 7? Well, obviously the opposite, which is take away 7. That's going to leave me with x squared equals 49. I'm not surprised it's come out with 49 because, of course, we've got squares, so we need square numbers. So what number squared gives you 49? What number times itself gives you 49? i.e. what's the square root of 49? That's what you're doing. So the opposite to squaring, I think I wrote it last time, a little square root in brackets on both sides. So x equals, that's right, 7. Of course, it's very easy to move on, okay? But at your level, it's a good habit just to say, well, actually, there's two answers here, two numbers. 7 times 7 is 49, but also, and x equals minus 7. Well done to those of you who remembered that there were two answers to a square root. I'm really impressed with you. Okay, root x, or square root of x add 3 is 6. Again, moving on, not too hard. What we're going to do here is add 3. We've got at the moment, opposite to that is take away 3. So I'm just going to put minus 3 under both sides. That's going to leave me with the square root of x equals 3. We now need to think about what the opposite of square root is. Remember, always opposite. So, you know, a square root of what number gives you 3? So the opposite of square root is squaring. Now, how do you write a little 2 or whatever? I'm just going to write the word square. I think I did that last lesson. Circle it. I'll do the same here. And so for square both sides, that's just going to give me x, because of course the answer is always x equals or something equals x. And 3 squared is 3 times 3, 9. Done. Okay, we're nearly there. Next one's actually quite easy, but just a bit different really. 10 divided by x equals 2. So it's a strange one, this, because what you've got now is the x is almost like in the wrong place. It looks really simple. You could almost guess the answer, but 10 divided by x equals 2. Because the x is at the bottom, and these last two questions are tricky ones, you can almost go, well, cover it up. 10 divided by what is 2? And you get the right answer, and that's fine. You just write x equals. What I'm going to do with you, though, is to go through all the, the proper method and show opposite of divide by x is actually times by x. And I'm just going to show you what happens if we do that. It's basically moving the x to the other side. So 10 divided by x times by x just gives you 10. 2 times x gives you 2x. And what happens is, because the x was on the bottom, we had to take it to the top, the other side. We've now got a question that's really easy to answer. The x was on the left, it's now on the right. But we're nearly at the answer. So, of course, we want to know what x is. 2 times what is 10. Basically, the opposite of times by 2 is divide by 2. So if I do that here, divide by 2 both sides. Of course, I'm going to have x on the right. 10 divided by 2 is 5. You probably could have guessed that that was going to be the answer at the start, but going through the methods, it's a pretty good habit just to get used to, oh, I don't like where the x is, I'll move it up, all right? This next question is very similar, because 12 take away 2x equals 5. If you just go through the standard almost, move the 12 away, you're left with negatives. I don't like negatives, I know you don't either. So because the x is negative in front, we'll just shift it. So the opposite of take away 2x is add 2x. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. If I do that, I'm just left with 12 on the left. Okay? On the right, I've obviously added 2x. And so I'm now going to have 5 add 2x. It now looks like that first question, basically right up here, which was quite easy. So it was worthwhile doing that. All we're now doing is getting rid of the 5, or the plus 5. So take away 5 from both sides. That leaves me with 7 equals 2x. And of course now, the final bit of the question, all I need to do is the opposite of times by 2, because that's what I've got there, 2x. So divide by 2 both sides. Now again, just to finish where we started, x equals, or something equals x, 7 divided by 2. Well, 7's not in the 2 times table. Again, don't panic. It's okay just to leave your answer as a fraction. Improper, top-heavy fraction, 7 over 2. Don't go anywhere near decimals. If you want to with a calculator, by all means do it. But we don't need to in this case. You won't in the exams. So, I'm going to give you some questions like this on your turn. Good luck. Look after yourself, stay healthy, and I will be seeing some more work for Friday as well. And hopefully, at some stage, seeing you soon as well. All right, okay? Take care, guys.